Good day. Welcome to one of the yoga mobility sessions for the Evolutions 2021 Challenge. My name is Amy Adamo and I am a group fitness instructor here at Evolutions. I have chosen to do a full body mobility segment today, and the words that I chose, actually I chose two words today for my session. I chose kindness and my other word is resolve. And I'm going to talk about those a little bit as we move through our mobility segment today. But kindness, being kind to yourself, being kind to others, being gentle with yourself and being gentle with others. The resolve piece is a determination to be better for yourself and better for others. Mobility is such a foundational piece for all the movement, what we do, and that is why I chose to take us through some movements today. So let's start on the floor. This first segment of movement here I've chosen has been given to me by the yogis in my life. This is called Chaka, and we're starting on our back and we're simply using our feet to rock our body, to get our tissues gliding on each other. So I want you to feel the weight of your body in the floor and to feel the way those layers of tissues start to glide on each other as they become more mobile. So we're starting on our back. We're gonna roll right to our belly. And in our belly position, you can have your hands alongside your body, one cheek to the floor, and again, tuck those toes, start some rocking. I chose not to do this on a mat today. Sometimes I move so much I'm off my mat before I know it, but many of you may choose to be on the mat. That's one way of being kind to yourself. Switch cheeks. Going the other side. Again, allowing those layers to move all the way up the front side of the body, all the way to your face. All right, we're gonna roll to side. This one's a little bit more challenging to get. Bottom leg is gonna stay straight. I like to take this top leg and shift it up so that I have some control in the rocking. You might choose to put a pillow or something underneath your head, or you can even tuck. And this is actually a great way to get the tricep. So I'm using both feet to start this glide, and I can feel this go from my foot up the outside of my thigh and through my rib area. And before we move to the other side, we're gonna stay right in this sideline position, and I'm gonna open. Knees are bent. I started with them straight, but I meant to have them bent. As you open, we're opening our thoracic tissue, all that area around the rib cage. Give yourself a moment as you roll backwards. Allow that stretch. Notice that I'm keeping my knees stacked. I don't want them to open as I come open, okay? Let's go to the other side. I'm gonna do this so that I don't lose you on the camera, but you may choose to just roll over. Again, tucking that bottom arm, bottom leg is straight. Starting our chaka here. And you guys, don't overthink this, okay? It doesn't have to look a certain way. It's probably the more you do it, the more it's gonna feel a little bit more natural and normal. All right, and then let those knees bend and they become heavy on themselves, and we're opening. I did about 5 on the other side, so I'm gonna do the same here. Make sure you come all the way back to this shoulder. Your starting point is right on your side, not open, okay? Because you want that opening to happen as you go. Nice work. Okay, we're coming to our back. Your knees are bent. Your feet are flat on the floor. We're just warming up the neck a little bit more. I want you to press your head straight down into the floor, almost like you're tucking your chin. You don't have to try to break the floor here. We're just warming up those muscles, doing a little retraction of the cervical spine. We spend so much time in a forward chin position. Again, kindness to self. And then let's roll our heads right to left. Just kind of notice what happens through your throat, through your chest as you go right to left. All right, in this position, I'm gonna come right to some snow angels, if you will. You could do this on a foam roller or a towel roll, and just for the sake of showing it in more of a quick format, my elbows are resting right above the floor. They're not on the floor, and I'm just going overhead. And you don't have to go all the way overhead. You can work in a smaller area if that's what's available to you. All right, hands are gonna come back down to the floor. We're doing a hip bridge. We keep those knees bent, feet are flat on the floor. We're gonna start with a tuck right here at our hips, and then we're gonna lift our hips off the ground. You're gonna unroll the same way you got up there. So starting high, just below the sternum, unrolling, lowering the hips last. So hips come up first, lifting the spine, spine comes down first, dropping the hips. All right, now we're gonna add some motion here. So rolling those hips up and then reaching across, looking at that hand. Unroll as you bring that hand back down. Lift those hips, reach across, unroll. We're gonna do this 2 more times on each side. You may need to reposition your feet. This is where I really start to travel. Notice that I am not resting on my head. I'm rolling to my shoulder and looking with my fingers going in one direction. Okay, we're gonna come up to seat. We're gonna start what I like to call Shinbox. Many of you may know this if you are familiar with my warm-ups. Your hands are gonna rest behind you. We're just starting by rolling those knees side to side. You can add a little bit more of a core challenge here by taking those hands off the floor. It's not necessary, it just adds some core element. Now push that hip through. Little quad stretch, little hip stretch. Push that hip through, that direction. That direction. Now we're gonna push the hip through and reach around. Again, don't overthink this. There's no right or wrong to how far you're getting. This is mobility. It's based on your mobility. Just always trying to improve. All right, we're adding one more challenge here. This is when we come up to an actual Shinbox squat. So lifting. Now, this is not possible in the beginning for many. So when you shift and you're going, use this hand behind you to help you lift. And then you can use your glute strength to try to lower, okay? Switching sides. We're gonna do it again. Coming all the way up, back down, switching sides, coming all the way up, back down. All right, let's go to kneeling. If kneeling doesn't feel good to you, that's totally fine. You can stay in a seated position. We're just gonna do a little bit of wrist work. So I'm just rolling my wrists, kind of like making an infinity sign. Switch directions. That's usually when things start to go wrong. All right, we're gonna add a different wrist roll. Hands out in front, turn the tops of those hands towards each other. One hand over top, in and out, in and out, in and out. Release those hands, take the other hand over top, and repeat. In and out, in and out. Last one. Undo those hands. We're gonna go into a kneeling Egyptian. So a lot of times in warm-ups we do this standing. There's nothing wrong with doing it kneeling. If you don't have the core strength or the balance to be in this position or the comfort, again, you can do it standing. There's nothing wrong with getting up and going back down. Okay, we're gonna go to all fours. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We're gonna start with some wrist stretching, okay? Take that right hand, rock forward so you have some space for those fingertips to point backwards. And then we can increase that strength by simply rocking back. Only go back as far as is comfortable. A little bit of a stretch through these wrist flexors. Rock forward to release. Switch sides. Gentle here, kind to self. Rock forward. Now we're gonna do both hands, turning those fingertips backwards. I'm staying forward over to begin, and then dragging those hips back towards my feet to get that stretch. Nice work. Rock forward to release them. You can even shake them out. Now we're going to go in the opposite directions. We just did this side. Now we're going to go those wrist extensors. So take the top of that hand, place it down on the ground. This may be enough for everybody. You may not be able to do a lot more than that, and that's okay, okay? If you want more, take the opposite fist, press it down into the palm of that hand that's down, and that may be enough stretch. If you feel like you can still do a little bit more, lift out of that shoulder, not sinking, lift out of that shoulder, and then you can start to rotate this arm. Good. Release that hand, roll it around a little bit. Let's do the other side. Palm in, give yourself some time to figure out what feels right. Again, don't forget to lift out of that shoulder. Okay, we're gonna go into some cat-cow. Now our wrists are a little bit warmer. I want you to imagine that your hand is a starfish and the palm of your hand is a little like a suction cup, okay? Starting with the sacrum, I want you to tuck, roll into cat, and then starting with the sacrum, lift, gliding into cow. Again, tuck, roll into cat. It's like a wave that starts with the sacrum and ends with the head. One more time. Switch directions. Now we're going to do a little bit of a side crunch. So dragging this hip toward my armpit. Both hands still staying flat on the floor, so I'm not dropping in here. I'm just trying to pull that hip toward my armpit, opening the ribs on the opposite side, okay? Nice work. One more. All right, we're gonna rock a little bit here. Just some rocking. Notice that my feet are laces down if I was wearing shoes. Laces down, and now I'm gonna switch so my toes are tucking under. So now we're starting to mobilize the toes, the ankles a little bit more. Now we're gonna do a little variation. I'm gonna take those laces back down. My other foot I'm gonna place on top of that ankle. Now I'm rocking again. Just a little bit of a different mobilization for that ankle. And I'm gonna switch sides. Other foot down, lock that in with the opposite foot. And again, these are options, variations. You can adjust anything and just stick with the rocking if you don't like that ankle lock. All right, we're gonna do one more rocking here. One knee stays down, other foot comes nice and close. It's right near my other knee, okay? And this kind of reaching forward, rocking back. So we're getting some stretch and some mobility in the ankle as we go. Rocking back. One more time. Reaching forward, rocking back. We're gonna switch feet. Tuck this one under. Other one comes right by that knee. Reaching forward, rocking back. Last one. All right, we've gotten our toes and our feet a little bit looser. Let's sink back into child's pose, hips towards our feet. Now, when you come up, I want you to tuck those toes under. And I want you to slowly lift your knees, hold them right above the floor here for a second. You're pressing into both palms like you're trying to push the floor away. And I want you to slowly lift those hips up toward the ceiling. Down dog. Drop those knees back toward the floor, but don't let them touch. Push those hips right back up. One more time. Dropping those knees down toward the floor. Push those hips up. Now, this is kind of like doing cat out into plank. So you're rolling through your spine. Push back into child's pose with those knees lifted. Lift those hips. Tuck your tailbone, roll through your spine. Roll, roll, roll. One more push back. Knees are up. Lift your hips, tuck your tailbone, roll through your spine. You're in plank. Bring your right leg forward. Sink into that left hip. Come back to plank. Left leg forward. Sink into that right hip. Repeat. Right leg forward. Sink into that left hip while you open your right hand toward the ceiling. Take that right hand back down into the ground. Back to plank. Left leg forward. Open your left hand to the ceiling. Back down with that hand. Back to plank. You're going to walk your hands toward your feet. We're coming to stand. We're going to do a crossover lunge, and we're going to try to get as much mobility in our hip here as we can. So crossover means we're stepping behind. Some people call these curtsy lunges. Stepping behind, squeezing the thighs together. I want you to see how deeply you can sink in. Can you come to the floor and lift back out? You may not be able to, and that's okay. Take the other leg behind, squeeze those thighs together, drop in as far as you can. Ooh, lost my balance. Coming back up to stand. Let's repeat, because that wasn't a great round for me. All right, stepping behind, dropping in, press back up, and don't be discouraged if your mobility does not allow you to get down this far. This is part of the reason that we warmed up those toes. All right, one more time. Sitting in as deeply as you can, challenging to get a little bit deeper, even if it's 1/4 of an inch each round. Nice work. Come all the way back up to stand. All right, we're gonna finish in a pose called Malasana here. Dropping in. I love this pose because it's a great way to stretch those groin muscles, getting the elbows on the insides of your knees. Prayer hands. Your heels may not touch the ground, that's okay. Many people are up like this, can't get those heels down. No worries. But I do want you to think about your tailbone being heavy here. Take another breath. Long spine. Hands to the ground. Press those hips up. Heel toe your feet in toward each other. Let your head dangle. And slowly roll yourself up to stand. Thank you for joining me today in this mobility segment. I hope it was enjoyable for you, and I hope there's 1 or 2 things that you really were enchanted by and that you can take with you. Again, kindness to self, resolve to do better. Go 2021. Bye everybody, thanks for joining me.